Welcome to a football show Thursday edition. Not quite the autopsy of the hiring of Robert Saleh, but it's close. We're closer. That is Nick Suss. I am Braden Gall. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, a great place to buy local craft beer. And all of you need to go drink local craft beer. That is what I am here to tell everybody. We have lots to discuss today on the show. Nick Suss, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, as I just promised on social, and I will promise now live. This week's show probably won't be about nominal determinism. If you guys want name facts,
Okay.
I'll throw them out, but probably not this time. We can probably shy away from it.
But what will be Geek Corner today, Nick? I never know what it's going to be. That's the whole point. You never know.
That is my favorite part of this segment, is that sometimes I just text Braden, got a Geek Corner, and he has to deal with the fact that his show is going to be hijacked.
No, it's great. That's why I like working with you, man. You hijack away. Lots of stuff to get to on the show today. All right, so we stayed in our regularly scheduled time slot a little bit late. We apologize this morning because, honestly, there is no imminent press conference looming for Robert Saleh to be introduced. They are still in the throes of trying to hire a coaching staff and most namely an offensive coordinator. So Brian Daboll, of course, we're waiting on his decision. I think he's meeting with the Bills ownership group, Terry Pabula, I think like today or last night or at some point. So whenever we're taping this at 9 a.m. on a Thursday, by the time you're hearing this, he could have already decided to be in Buffalo. He could have already been hired by the Titans. So we'll discuss some of the other names, but more importantly, like the strategy around how to fix the offense.
Yeah.
Which if you want to go to Tennessean.com, you can read the 8 steps. And I've got beef, Nick. I've got beef.
Is it because of step 2? Is it because
I like step 2.
I like step 2 a lot. That's my favorite step. I'm trying to think of why you would have beef.
I got so much beef.
Okay, we'll get into
not including the fact that beef is a part of number 6.
It is
in the 8th step.
Beef is an important step.
We're already walking into Geek Corner at this point. Just on how we're teasing it.
This is just GM Corner. This is put on your GM cap,
right,
which I guess for me says Teenage Grandpa on it. That's my GM cap. What's your GM cap say?
Teenage Grandpa. I don't want to know. Hang on.
It's a 30 Rock joke.
That's true. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up, notifications turned on. Share on Twitter and Facebook if you're watching. We do appreciate you all. But make sure you can see his hat, and then here is mine, of course, because after the Packers are eliminated from the playoffs, which happens every year, of course, as is tradition, and after the national championship game happens, it is officially golf season. Have a day is my hat. So there you go.
I really thought you were about to brag about the Mets trade last night, but no, it's golf season before it's Mets season for Braden
they
Gall.
went and signed Bo Bichette. Who'd they trade for yesterday?
They got Freddie Peralta, who was
that's right.
Yeah, traded a couple of big prospects for him.
Yeah, that's pretty good. They got Jorge Polanco, I think, too. So I don't know. Why not just sign Pete Alonso? Anyway, I'm not going to complain about a billionaire spending as much money as possible. Not my money, by the way, on trying to make my baseball team better. Okay, so here's the thing. Lots of stuff. We're going to talk coordinator. We're going to talk the steps to maximizing Cam Ward. We're going to talk through a bit of the process because Albert Breer laid out a bunch of that stuff. I know you've got some insight into this as well. Like some of the things about the involvement of Amy-Adams Strunk in the process, who finally made the decision. I also have a question about final say with you on this, and how much does that actually matter? I got into a huge argument with Jared Stillman on his show last week about this, where I just didn't care. I don't care about it. You need to tell me if I'm right or wrong about that. You can tell me I'm wrong. It's fine. Jared did it many times. Are they chasing the ghost of Mike Vrabel here? Is that the right thing to do? Is it the wrong thing to do? I think that's part of this discussion as well. We got AFC and NFC championship games, a very strange AFC championship game for me in general, and this weird player movement thing in college basketball, which I think why is it relevant? I just think it's a topic that people are going to be like, this is going to be water cooler stuff while we're all sledding this weekend, I feel like. It's going to be like, how can a player who played in the NBA for 3 years be playing in Thompson Bowling Arena on Saturday against the Vols? It ties into college athletics. It ties into college football as well. So lots of stuff to get to. Sinkers Beverages, of course, as well. I don't know why I'm talking with my hands today. I'm just very fired up, very caffeinated. Sinkers Beverages, you can get all of your alcoholic needs, all of your dry January needs, all of your THC needs, your mocktails, your non-alc stuff. Craft beer is a big one. People aren't going out and sharing a beer with each other. You need to go share a beer with somebody in your community, your neighbor, your friend, just randomly, especially grown adult men don't do this. Like, go have a beer with one of your friends. for no reason at all. And you can tell your significant other, your spouse, your wife, that this is like what science tells you is supposed to happen. You need to go do this from a psychological standpoint. You can get those beers. You can have porch beers from Sinker's Beverages. So you can also get bourbon, wine, tequila, all the other things you need as well. If you want to get into the comment section, please do so. If you guys have questions, I would like you guys to help dictate some of the direction of the show. Zach Lyons, good to see you. He is no longer wearing a hat minus forwards. I don't know if you're disappointed by that now, Zach. He says backward hat, boys. Walmart was out of beef when I went to the grocery yesterday. Why does everyone buy all the things that go bad? I don't understand that. Like, why not buy things that would be shelf stable that in case you did get snowed in for like a week at a time, like it would stay good? I don't know. I never understood that part. Step one, change his name to Bob Saleh.
Loyal listeners.
Z Dean, good job there. Morning Gent says Caribbean Dan. Also, are we glad Amy has been in the shadows after the Bills press conference? Okay.
No.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Do you want to explain any further or no?
I as somebody who asks questions for a living, I would like to ask her questions.
Yeah, fair enough. Jordan Pace. Sus, where did last weekend's SNL tear out on your rankings? The sketches were some of the best all season. Veronica is a rising star.
I have watched the episode twice now. Hard disagree. Second worst episode of the season so far. I still think the premiere with Bad Bunny was worse. I liked the Veronica sketch. You and me might be the only people in America who liked the sketch. That has been getting a lot of hate in the community. I liked that sketch. It's exactly what I want from SNL. She's not at peak performance yet. She needs to get there. On top of that, nothing else the boy band sketch was fun. Nothing else really. The two pre-tapes were way too long, and they were both one joke pre-tapes. I didn't like those. Telegraphed the jokes and the Stranger Things thing. We can talk about football. I don't have to keep going, but trust me.
Stop.
Yeah, I did. I was not a fan of the episode.
Wow, Jordan just got murdered. Sorry, Jordan. I hope just go back and rewatch it and forget everything Nick said and enjoy it on your own.
Yeah.
Bustin' Diamond says, good morning, fellas. Wife got exposed to someone with the flu on her first day back from maternity leave. Very random, but I'm sorry. I hope she feels better. Also, if you're on maternity leave, just be prepared to have the flu for the next 5 to 8 years. Just want to let you know.
My wife also has the
father.
flu right now, in case you want some solidarity.
If you're, but I don't sure.
It's very different. It's a very different circumstance.
I'm just saying, like, she clearly got Bustin' Diamond's wife clearly got the flu from work. What I'm telling you is that child, as soon as that child is out in the wild, it will bring the flu back to your house every week for the next 5 to 8 years. They are a walking petri dish. Thank goodness mine are out of that phase at this point, but just barely. Ed says, I'm over 50. Beer doesn't like me anymore. It's why in moderation, man. The beauty of being this age, I'm 43, like I don't get drunk anymore. That's not a thing that happens. But two like nice 7% alcohol beers, I can drink them slowly over time. You can get them at Sinker's Beverages. You can get them at all the other great breweries in town. And you know what? It's pretty good for your health, actually. It's pretty good for your health. I know that sounds crazy. Go listen to my other show, Mashville, with an M. It's about the craft beer history of Nashville. You'll find out. Civilization exists because of beer. Just telling you guys.
Everything that Braden says sounds a little bit like Hank Hill, by the way.
Damn it, son, get back in the house.
Just go find 3 friends and drink a beer with them.
God damn it, Lady Bird, get back in the house. I got to go to town and sell some propane. I've never seen so much damn whacking. Eddie said, has anybody seen Clark Lee and Saleh in the same room? We have a type in Nashville. What is the follically challenged? You put Kaharski in that room. You're in trouble. I'll have a beer with you, Caribbean Daniel. It's going to be a loose show. Caribbean Daniel, absolutely. At least we got Bobby Salad. Grocery stores have been a war zone. That's why I have not gone to any of them, says Z Dean. Hasn't PK said that he does go by Bob to the team and friends? Is that true? I haven't seen him report that. He tweeted our show out. He would have reported that, I feel like. He doesn't not report things, you know?
I've heard people call him Bob in the past.
Ooh.
But
so there's a chance.
Recommendation, if you guys have never watched The Bob Emergency by John Boyce and the folks over at Secret Base, there is a full 2-part documentary about the decline of the name Bob in the history of sports. You should go watch it. It's very, very fun.
LCT says, well, if it's cold outside and you lose power, just put all your beef and milk and other perishables outside in the snow. In my house, that's called porch soup. When we make soup and it's because we make soup when it's cold, you just store it on the porch. What do weather forecasters send everyone? Why do they send everyone to the grocery store? Pure panic here in West Virginia. Hello to West Virginia. Let's see here. Just canceled my flight to Nashville on Saturday. I'm getting through all these comments here. Okay. Wow, didn't know you did impressions. That was a strong Hank Hill. Thank you, Jordan. You're back, Jordan. You're back. All right, we're going to talk about football.
Let's talk about football.
Okay. So first of all, the autopsy a bit here. I don't want to get too deep into this because there's still going to be more of this later on. But I think when we put together all the reporting on the ground plus some national stories about how this unfolded, is there anything that stands out to you about the process? I think the fact that he won the job, I think, is one that stands out to me, that he went in and beat out everybody else, that he convinced Mike Borgonzi that he was the right guy. And the other people in the room, which apparently was Ziegler, McKenzie, Brinker, and
Sagany.
Then they go on to have a conversation around Cam Ward and the plan to what he's presenting as the solution or plan for Cam Ward. That is when Amy-Adams Strunk is involved in this. It appears that the final table was Borgonzi, Brinker, and Amy-Adams Strunk, which I think is closing ranks to some degree and letting the best football mind dictate where it's going to go, because Borgonzi recommended in that meeting that they hire Robert Saleh, and that is what happened, which means Chad and Amy, the two I'm going to say Chad's the non-football person at this point, those two went with the recommendation. This was not Bryce Wasserman or Burke Nihill or a bunch of other people. This was Mike Borgonzi having an interview, deciding on who should be the coach, presenting it as his recommendation, ownership listening to the football mind. Process probably one of the smoothest processes they have had. What about that whole thing stands out to you that matters to you?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what to reveal here about my specific brand of psychosis. If somebody were hypothetically to have been sitting in their car across from the Titans facility all day Monday, hypothetically, they could tell you there was not a lot of hustle bustle moving in, moving out. This was not like a shuttling people in situation. There was camp. They were camped. I saw one of the 19 names that you mentioned. I saw one of them come in or leave at any point before sundown. I had to leave. I didn't bring flashlights. This isn't Watergate.
Well, I want all of you to realize how unglamorous it can be to do your job as a reporter and the things that good reporters do for all of you out there, which is spend an entire day in your car looking at nothing. I just
Correct.
Point that out.
But so, to the best of what I was able to ascertain, this was a day where everybody was in there just fully engaged. I think that from talking to somebody who was in the building, maybe not like a super high level decision maker, not somebody who was in the final meeting, but some talking to people who were in the building that day, Saleh was impressive. Saleh was impressive in a different way than other candidates who'd come in person were impressive. And that speaks to what we've heard and known about Saleh since 2018, 2019, when he became a prominent fixture in the coaching community. I believe that whether you want to say he won the job or whether you want to say the Stefanski and Hafley stuff happened and the Titans were backed into a corner, there is nobody who is going to be leaking information these days who's going to say, yeah, he was our third choice, but we feel good about it. Like, everybody's going to be talking pretty confidently about the guy who just won the job. But I do think that there is something to be said of his planning, of his diligence, of his personality, of his willingness to relate to people in the way the Titans prefer their coach to relate to people. I think that all of it adds up to this was the candidate type that they said they were looking for back in October. And they found their guy, they recognized what they said they were looking for, and they seem excited about it.
Now, the immediate follow-up to that from a lot of people and the internet unfortunately, is that they're just chasing, and somebody's already been in the comments, that they're chasing the ghost of Mike Vrabel. And I think that I've struggled with the right words to use to describe their similarities, because you can use a lot of cliches. You can say, oh, they're cut from the same cloth. They have the same vibes. Like, you can say a lot of things that but I don't think they're anywhere close to the same type of person.
No.
I think they may end up creating something similar in how they lead, but I think they're very different people. Robert Saleh, 9 kids and a newborn. That's different than Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
I think Vrabel's like snarky, kind of like busting with the boys of it all. Like, just his desire to just be like such a, like, he can just throw it at you. I don't get that energy or vibe from Robert Saleh at all either. I think I think he puts that maybe there's more to that than I think, considering his interaction with Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
But I think that was less like I'm giving you shit as it is I'm really actually upset with what you did, kind of thing. So how would you articulate? I think the answer is kind of both. I think they are going for a standard, as Borgonzi calls it, or a culture that is similar in how it functions to what Mike Vrabel built here. But I don't think they were trying to replicate Mike Vrabel with Robert Saleh.
No, I mean, if you want to talk about the periphery, there are similarities. Like we talked about on Tuesday, if you subscribe to the 2 types of coaches theory,
Right.
he's the same type as Vrabel. Now, Robert Saleh, if you guys haven't like read up on him, learned about him, talked to people about him, that's my job. He grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, which is the Ford town. That's the town Henry Ford is from. He grew up in about as stereotypical blue collar of a family factory town as you can. Grandson of immigrants from Lebanon, which I have to remember to say the right way now that I've lived in Middle Tennessee for as long as I have.
Lebanon.
He worked his way up the football ranks through really small college football. We're talking schools nobody's ever heard of unless you're Braden level obsessed with the small levels of college football. He didn't have the star rating or the NFL experience or any of that came with Vrabel. And that's kind of where their stories diverge, is that, Vrabel, blue collar, grew up in the Midwest, hardworking family, all that stuff. The difference is Ohio State, 11 years in the NFL, whatever it was, he earned his respect as a been there, done that coach. Players respect him because they know he's played on Super Bowl winning teams. They know he has been in the muck that these players are currently in.
Yeah.
Saleh does not have that, whether you want to call that a luxury or whether you want to call that a whatever you want to call it. He does not have the ability to relate to players in the I played in the NFL, I know how hard this is for you perspective. What he does have is training from a different kind of mentorship. Vrabel, while he will never say he is part of Bill Belichick's tree, he did not coach under Bill Belichick. I get that. He coached under Bill O'Brien, who comes from Bill Belichick.
How many years was Bill Belichick in his ear every day? How many years?
Probably 7 or 8. Was that right?
Yeah. I mean, a decade of someone being in your ear.
And Bill O'Brien and Urban Meyer, all the people who Vrabel has worked for, very hard style football. Like Urban Meyer, even though he plays that spread offense, very like traditional Midwestern football type stuff. Saleh has been raised in a different kind of football atmosphere. His first jobs were in Houston, which I believe were under Gary Kubiak, which is West Coast Shanahan type stuff. And then obviously he linked up with LaFleur, his old buddy from being a GA in colleges, and linked up with Kyle Shanahan when they were together. And then he had Pete Carroll when he was in Seattle and Gus Bradley, and those were much more.
Dom Capers was his first coach, I think.
Yes, somewhere around there. Of like, you have a bunch of guys who are not necessarily that ground and pound, kill you with physicality type teams. Even Pete Carroll, who's as hard-nosed as a coach, like schematically as you'll find, the way he relates to people is so much different than that traditional.
Pete Carroll is the most gentle parenting of football coach you can possibly be. And a couple quick comments. I want you to keep going, but I want to point some of these things out. First of all, older Wiser says, I'm hoping Mike McDaniel becomes the OC for the Titans. He's got good relationship with the new coach. He is the offensive coordinator for the Chargers.
Correct.
And is off the table. Just quick, want to point that out. Vrabel is a lughead. Saleh is articulate football nerd. That is correct on Saleh, completely incorrect on Vrabel. Vrabel is a very smart dude. Incredibly smart guy.
Very, very smart guy.
Because he has a huge torso and played linebacker and likes to talk shit does not mean he is not smart. He is very, very smart. He understands people and he understands scheme. He's very good. So I want to point some of that out. Saleh is friends with all the football nerds. That probably says something. There you go. Callahan was a player-led accountability. It feels like Saleh will be a coach-led accountability. I think there's probably some truth to that. Do you think the setup will be CEO, head coach? This is from Ed Henry. Seems like the opposite of Callahan and Denard Wilson, but head coach coaches D and then Dayball, CEO of the offense. I don't know what the setup's going to be. I think some of that does depend on who he gets to hire. If he hires the most, we'll get into this in a second, but if he hires the most experienced offensive coordinator in the history of the organization, Brian Daboll, you probably can let him do a little bit more control of the offense. You can probably be a little bit more hands-off, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Keep going.
And also that last comment, will Saleh have someone like Stretch? He had a chief of staff when he was in New York. I believe his name was Steve Scarnecchia. So he has in the past preferred to have a chief of staff, yes.
Also does election night for MSNBC.
So where was I? Oh, yeah. So the differences in Saleh's upbringing. The way to say it, in my mind, is if you're chasing the ghosts of Vrabel, you hired somebody who could have been Mike Vrabel had he been nurtured in the ecosystem that Mike Vrabel was nurtured in. But Robert Saleh was not nurtured in that ecosystem. Yeah. He didn't come up through Ohio State. He didn't play double-digit years in the NFL. He didn't work under these hard-nosed my way or the highway coaches. He came up in more of a, as you've said it, gentle parenting, collaborative type of coaching environment, whether it was Kubiak or Shanahan or Carroll or Gus Bradley or any of these guys. And look, the end result is you have a coach who really believes in culture, who really believes in identity, who really believes in doing things in a way that allows you to win with defense first. If you're looking at it from the ending, yes, you're chasing what Vrabel did. Yeah. But the factors that contribute to how they get there are pretty different.
And I think ultimately there are only kind of maybe two of these. Like to your point, you've always said two. There might be a third way of doing this, but a great head coach in the NFL is an offensive genius or is a CEO culture leader. And you can build that culture in a lot of different ways. And I think that's where, like, they may get to the same point, but I think they get there in different ways. And I think that's the key. So I think there's a little bit of truth to, hey, we want to go back to this type of environment in our building. But you got to get rid of Vrabel altogether. And he's gone. He's somewhere else. Like, it's not a thing that matters anymore. You and I can sit here and do a show 10 years from now and be like, well, you shouldn't have fired Vrabel. Like, you clearly should not have fired Vrabel. But that's something that we were all saying, some of us at the time. But I think the idea that you can get to that culture and that tradition, that sort of standard that they want to set, and the cohesion within the locker room, the accountability from person to person, the energy, the positivity. I think there's probably more of a positive element to Saleh. And I don't say that to say that like Vrabel or these other coaches are not positive. That's not what I mean. There's just, people lead in different ways. So anyway, I think you explained it very well. And I think that's a major talking point that I've seen floating around all over the place that I thought let's articulate some of the differences here and make sure that we kind of get that correct. Quickly on the final say thing, Mike Borgonzi is carving out trust with the fan base on how he is functioning as the general manager. He is carving out trust with me as someone who analyzes this stuff and tries to see the good and the bad in every decision. How much do you trust the division of labor? Does it matter to you if because Stillman's argument with me was that all the great coaches, every one of the great coaches has final say on the roster, has final say on as a general manager, whether it's Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, John Harbaugh, etc. And I'm just going, well, but isn't the graveyard filled with coaches who tried that and didn't do it? So I trust Saleh to run football. I trust Borgonzi to run the other half of that off the field. And frankly, one line in the Albert Breer story that stood out to me was that as soon as they decided that Saleh was the guy and offered him the job and he accepted it, Chad Brinker went over here and worked on the contract with the agent. And Mike Borgonzi went over here with Robert Saleh to talk about staff, which means the division of labor is very clear. And so I'm curious what you make of the, does it matter to you if Robert Saleh had final say or that John Harbaugh was offered that or not? Like, does it matter to you?
If Robert Saleh earns final say, good for him. That means the Titans are winning. If
No
you
kidding.
give a coach who is 20-36 or whatever these numbers are, final say, I don't necessarily think that is a great decision based off of what you are enabling him to do. Like, if this ends up working, if this ends up being organizationally what the Titans want it to be, 7 years from now, maybe you have a situation of a tipping point like just happened in Buffalo. I don't think so. Maybe. You truly never know.
Shades of Vrabel and John Robinson and Rand Carthon in those conversations.
But that's called earning it. That's called winning a lot.
Right,
and a lot of people thinking that they deserve all the power and all the credit for winning a lot. The Titans' first criteria right now is win a little.
Yeah.
Before we talk about winning a lot, win a little.
Well, I guess my theory is more like conceptually, I don't think it matters. Like, let's go back to the hiring process. Borgonzi has a bunch of people in the room. Borgonzi has final say, but he's in there with 3 people he trusts that he's hired. From an assistant general manager standpoint, they all collaborate on what to do. He makes the recommendation to the owners group. He's not the only one in that room, but he made the recommendation. They agreed with him. Does he have final say on who the head coach is? No. But this is Mike Borgonzi's guy. And so it doesn't really matter that Amy-Adams Strunk came in and just said, way to go. Like, I don't know. I think too much can be made of the actual final say thing. So.
We have conditioned ourselves to care so much about this because of how messy it's been for the last couple of years.
That's right.
It is currently clean. Let it be clean.
Amen. All right. So let's do coordinator real quickly here. Obviously, Brian Daboll will decide if he wants to be the head coach of the Bills. The
Bills will also decide if he should be head coach of the Bills. They have to hire him. They have to offer him the job.
I guess that's true. It's so weird that a guy gets fired from the Giants, even though there were some good stuff there. I know he's got the track record of developing Josh Allen, if that's a thing you do, and he's the former offensive coordinator there, and knows the ownership group, and blah 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 blah. But like, it just feels so odd to fire Sean McDermott to go hire the Giants ex-coach who was fired a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. It just seems odd to me. So we don't really know. Odds have him, of course, as the favorite to be the head coach of Buffalo. If not, I think what matters here is he is, and we can get into some of the stuff that made him good with Daniel Jones when he took Daniel Jones and maximized him. We can talk about what he did as a coordinator for, frankly, Alabama and the Buffalo Bills. But at the end of the day, if he is hired as the offensive coordinator, there is no name on the list in the history of the organization that will have more experience or more productivity as an OC when getting the job than Brian Daboll. We can say that Matt LaFleur is a better coordinator. That's fine. You could say Arthur Smith's a better coordinator if you want to. I'm not going to agree with that, but we can have these discussions all throughout Titans history. You could talk about every coordinator. No one steps into the job with as much experience or productivity as Brian Daboll would should he decide or not get the job in Buffalo and come be the OC. So I think it starts and ends with him, of course, and then we'll work our way down. But I think the most important point is his resume and what he brings to the table, not does it happen or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Ed Henry just took the words out of my mouth, though. The Daboll situation is going to be complicated by the fact that the Bills are nowhere close to satisfying the Rooney Rule yet. Like, this process is going to take a minute. So if the Titans are holding out their entire staff hopes on Daboll, this is going to take a week or two. So this is going to be complicated. Maybe it isn't.
What
really
would be the
maybe
rush? What would be the rush here if he's the right guy and you could get him and he's the best choice and you all want him?
that there's other staff positions you have to fill.
But like, there's still 6 other jobs that haven't been
I get
filled,
it.
which
I get
means tons of movement is still set to happen in the future. The season's not even over yet.
Yeah, I get it. And that's why I'm not necessarily saying it's panic mode, but I am saying this is a decision that's going to take a week or two. This isn't going to be, this probably, I won't speak in absolutes, but this probably won't be resolved immediately. But yeah, are we getting into the steps here? Do we need to, what are your other options?
So Arthur Smith, Cliff Kingsbury, Matt Nagy, Bobby Slowick, Mike Kafka, Joe Brady, Clay Kubiak. I know you had 18 of them.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I think I'm torn on Cliff Kingsbury. Generally speaking, his quarterbacks and his rushing attack is very interwoven and dynamic. That's not what Cam Ward necessarily does well, but I think Cliff Kingsbury has so much air raid in his background that I think he could figure that out. But I don't love that. I'm not sure about Joe Brady. Again, Joe Brady, really great with Joe Burrow. Josh Allen did all the work here, so I don't know how innovative or electric or amazing Joe Brady is. I don't know. Kafka, of course, is interesting because of his work with he's off the Dayball tree at this point. Part of me really likes Arthur Smith in all of this, and not because he's familiar, but because I really like what he does on offense. I like the way he helped build the identity, and I like how to your point about Saleh's kind of coaching upbringing. I think Arthur Smith's upbringing is the kind of upbringing you want, which is I've earned every single thing along the way. And generally, when you go get a head coaching job and don't do well, you come back and you're a pretty good coordinator. And I thought he did a decent job with the Steelers. I have a lot of respect for Arthur Smith. I don't understand why Titans fans don't want him.
Yeah, the only person that you named there that I would absolutely have off the board is Kingsbury. I do not necessarily love that plan.
Yeah.
But
it does not seem like it fits into Robert Saleh's vision for what he wants. Like if he played out that vision like he did for the ownership group and for the front office, I can't imagine that Cliff Kingsbury's offense or him was in that vision personally.
Yeah. And I also think that the Nathaniel Hackett of it all, the experience that Saleh had of bringing in and not an outsider, because Hackett worked for LaFleur. Obviously, there's vouching. Obviously, they have some crossover. But like bringing in somebody
on him,
what
that was forced on him.
Yeah, but yeah, bringing in somebody who isn't necessarily the way you'd want to run the offense might make him reticent to hire somebody like Kingsbury or like just big name X who could rile things up. I think that the most important qualities I'm looking for as the offensive coordinator, whether or not it is Dayball, is enough of a steadying experience that you have seen it work a lot of different ways in the NFL and can help Cam develop and adapt that way. I want somebody who can CEO the offense. So that means not necessarily somebody who is young, up and coming. We'll get to that in a minute. I want somebody who, if Saleh is purely going to be the defensive mind and the CEO, I want somebody who can be head coach of the offense. And so people will ask why I'm out on Kingsbury, since he kind of fits those two things. I just don't think you can count on Kingsbury lasting very long.
I don't think you say experience. I'm like, experience only counts if it's good experience. Like a lot of failed experiences. And again, he likes running quarterbacks, and those quarterbacks have almost all been murdered on a football field, that is. So I just don't think it fits. I don't think it fits what Saleh's building. I don't think it fits schematically with what Cam Ward does very well. I don't think it fits. It doesn't mean he can't make it fit, because you could do way worse than Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, Clay Kubiak I feel like sometimes he's on this list because of his last name. Like not because of his dad, but because of his brother. I just feel like that's chasing. Sometimes I feel that way about Mike LaFleur as well. Like, just because your last name is LaFleur doesn't mean you're as good as the other one.
And there are a lot of nepotism adjacent people that come through that San Francisco, Los Angeles mold. Mick Lombardi is a guy who is going to get some play because of the connections in San Francisco. Yeah, you know who his dad is. Obviously, Sean McVay comes from a coaching family. Right. Kyle Shanahan comes from a coaching family. I do not expect. We'll see. We will.
So number one on your 8 steps to fix the Titans offense is Brian Daboll.
Yes.
So But before you get to number 2, if Daboll is the Bills head coach, there needs to be a few names there. And this is the portion of the pod where I ask you for not predictions, but some rankings or whatever it is. And it feels a little bit more like sports talk radio than a podcast where we get into Geek Corner often. To me, it's like Arthur Smith and Mike Kafka, like I think are the 2 names I really like after Brian Daboll. So where are you at on the next 3 names?
Kafka is a name that I've thought of that I like. I understand why people are pushing for Slowick. I know that that Slowick has some detractors in the industry just with the way his schemes kind of stopped working after a year.
Yeah, I'm cautious around that name. That's how I feel. Morning, Jess, by the way.
And then there are some other names. I've thought about Frank Smith, who was McDaniel's second hand in Miami. If you can't get McDaniel, go get the guy who was McDaniel's number 2.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I if you are going to get somebody who's not Arthur, who's not Daboll, who's not former head coach, go get somebody we've never heard of.
Yeah, right.
Don't go get Luke Getsy. Don't go get Alex Van Pelt. Go get somebody we've never heard of.
Hire Joe Brady when LSU hired Joe Brady.
Yeah.
Which I think he was like a quarterback's coach for the Carolina Panthers or something like that, or for the Saints maybe. And like they just brought this random dude in, and he came in and turned Joe Burrow and all those NFL receivers, who also are very good, by the way, into the greatest offense we've ever seen in college football. So you can do it. You can find a position guy.
Go figure out who this year's Grant Udinsky is. Go figure out who this year's Declan Doyle is. Go get somebody we've never heard of. If you're not getting Smith or Daboll or any of those guys.
EB Titan says we need an OC that's going to stick around and keep up with the consistency we need in this organization. I don't know if I agree with that. Because again, Vrabel went and got Matt LaFleur. They had never worked together. I know there's a lot of questions about, like, do they know each other? And it's like, it doesn't matter if Arthur Smith and Robert Saleh don't know each other. Denard Wilson and Brian Callahan didn't really know each other, or they all know each other, is my theory, because they all run in the same circles, go to the same conventions, and have the same agents, and et cetera, et cetera. They're all trying to get the same jobs, or, stay away from the same jobs, or whatever. Like, he put a plan together in his presentation to be the coach. He said, look, here's my backup plan. Here's my second and third year plan at OC if I lose somebody. So you have to have this stuff ready to go. Like, you got to hire the best coordinator, not be scared to pass on the best coordinator because you think the worst coordinator might stick around longer. I don't think you can do that. That's kind of beta mentality to some degree.
And for the commenters who are asking about guys like Davis Webb, guys like Nate Scheelhaus, all that stuff, I think they are too close to head coach to jump this way. It'd be similar to the LaFleur situation of go get a job as a first-time play caller and then be a head coach next year. But
they're pretty good that year.
Yeah, they were 9-7 that year. They did okay. Yeah, that's possible. But I mean, Scheelhaus is still interviewing for head coaching jobs. Davis Webb is still interviewing for head coaching jobs. We have to see what happens there before we can put them on the list.
Ed Henry says, as the book closed on Nagy, do you think Saleh had Nagy on his list? That's going to be an interesting one if you lose out on. But LaFleur also interviewed for the Titans head coaching job, if you believe that. So I don't know. I don't know about Nagy. Number 2 on your list is find a fresh new mind and a fresh young mind on offense, which seems like get in the laboratory and be the succession plan for the OC. We've kind of already covered a little bit of some of that. So that's one of my favorite bullets on your list. Do you need to explain any more on that? Or are we good on that?
We can throw out the names that I mentioned. I think this is a situation where you have to go think of what offenses are working in such a unique, clever way that you want to try and capture what they're doing. This is the Joe Brady at LSU prompt.
Yeah.
This is, look at what Indiana's doing. Jess, here you go. Look at what Indiana's doing. Go get somebody like Chandler Whitmer, who's their co-offensive coordinator, worked with the Falcons last year, worked with the Chargers before that. We've seen him grow in the NFL. He's also got experience at Clemson, also got experience at Ohio State. Go get somebody like that who is working with really interesting offensive principles. The quarterback's coach at Ohio State, Bobby Fessler, I think he's 30, 31 years old. He kind of grew up in the Joe Moorhead system for a little bit before jumping to Ohio State. Go get some interesting offense from there. Go get the receivers coach from Oregon. Go get the assistant quarterbacks coach from Notre Dame. Go get somebody who is running offense in a unique, interesting way that nobody else in the NFL is thinking about, and have them be the one who's injecting new ideas while Daboll or whoever is injecting the ideas that we know already work and come up with something new instead of just trying to capture something old.
Kenny Dillingham, Caribbean Daniel says that is a head coach at his alma mater. That he is beyond the layer that we're talking about.
We're talking about guys who are 28, 29, 30 years old. We're not talking about established head coaches.
Like you talk about the Indiana offense, and I have concern. Sorry to Indiana fans listening. I have concerns over Mendoza's transition to the NFL because of how simple the offense is. I don't think it works in the NFL. But what can you learn from a system like that? What elements can you take from a system like that and bring it into the NFL? That's where we're talking about. Find the pieces that supplement a system that like Brian Daboll or Arthur Smith have already built. So, all right, number 3 on the list is Wan'Dale Robinson, the smallest and tiniest human to ever succeed in the NFL.
Correct.
Seems like he's going to get hurt on every pass he catches, but he did very well with Brian Daboll. If Brian Daboll is not the offensive coordinator, do you still want slot receiver Wan'Dale Robinson as number 3 on the 8-step plan to fixing the Titans offense?
It's maybe not number 3, but I still like the idea of going and getting a slot receiver. Whether it's Wan'Dale Robinson, whether it's Olamide Zaccheaus, who is a free agent again this year if he wants to leave Chicago. Whoever it is, I like the idea of fixing the short game. I like the idea of making it easier for Cam Ward to have places to go when he needs to get the ball out quickly.
Is DK growing into something more than that type of player in the future, in your opinion? Is that your vision of this, is that he is not that player?
Yes, but maybe not in the complimentary way. If you can go get somebody who is a better version of what DK was, go get a better version than that. Maybe you can adapt. In the best case scenario for this Titans future, Chim DK is your 4 receiver. Like best case scenario, you're signing a free agent this year. You're drafting somebody this year. You're maybe drafting somebody in 2027 if you're back at the top of the draft and can get somebody there.
Jeremiah Smith.
If you can get Jeremiah Smith, if you can get Cam Coleman, if you can get one of these guys.
The top of that draft. I know we say this every year, and I'm guilty of this. But my God, the top of that draft looks good. Pass rusher and receiver, by the way.
Yeah. And so
take Jeremiah Love.
So if you are, again, best case scenario, DK and Io Manor are your 3 and 4 or your 4 and 5. They are not your 1 and 2. Go get guys who have true number 1 traits. And that's why I'm not super gung-ho on Dobbs or Pierce or...
I don't like Pierce. I like Romeo Dobbs a lot.
The first Packer you actually like. That's interesting.
Well, he's been suspended for a game for like conduct and stuff, so it's kind of weird, but like his hands are extraordinary. He runs great routes. He is not open a lot. But when he's open, it's because of his feet and his route running, not because of his athletic ability, is what I mean to say. And I like those types of receivers. Those guys are productive. If I'm a Packers fan, he's one of the few guys I would like them to resign.
So I'm staying away from that top tier of free agent receiver because I don't necessarily love the idea of giving fringe number 2 money, fringe number 1, potential number 2 money to somebody who, let's be real, in the best case scenario of this offense is your number 3 in a couple of years. So I don't love that plan. But
no, the truth about Dobbs is that he is what you believe Alec Iomenor can become. Like he's a more polished, better, more productive, older version of Alec Iomenor. And if you think Alec Iomenor can be that, what he runs great routes, Dobbs, he's great in the red zone. He is not a number 1. He's just not. He doesn't have the pure talent to be a number 1. He is a really solid number 2.
Yeah.
And if you lose your number 1, he can be a target in the red zone and be your number 1. But that's the problem, is that at best case, he's a 2. And I don't think Alec Iomenor is going to develop into that. But I think you could see good number 3s and 4s. I think you want DK to be a 3 and you want Iomenor to be your 4. I think it's sort of maybe more where I'm at on this. But the point is go add a weapon that helps Cam Ward in the quick passing game. And most importantly, can do something after catching the football.
Yes.
That's the most important thing.
And if you prefer to do that in the draft, if you prefer to invert the order, Zachariah Branch should be around in the 3rd round.
Yep. He might be around in the 3rd round. We'll see.
We'll see.
But I do think Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. This is a very undersized player, but extremely explosive. very good on the screens and the bubbles, and he's thicker than Wan'Dale Robinson, a little bit more like Olamide Zaccheaus as well. Number 4 on your list of fixing the offense is a big, tall wide receiver on day 2. I see somebody mention Ted Hurst, Caribbean Daniel. That's the Georgia State wide receiver. He is an outside wide receiver. There's lots of guys on day 2. Chris Brazel out of Tennessee, Jacoby Lane out of USC. Lots of guys that are going to be sort of that big, tall, stretch the field kind of receiver that's there. Casey Concepcion is the opposite, right? There's plenty of the smaller guys on this. Carnell Tate, of course, is clearly that guy. I just think if you think there's a chance you're going to take a receiver in the next draft, I don't love Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson at the top of this draft. I love Mekhi Lemon, but he is more of he's more Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is not your big, tall. Like, he pairs well with Calvin Ridley, honestly.
Yeah. Which
number 5 on the list is trade Calvin Ridley. But that's only assuming if 3 and 4 have happened, correct?
3 maybe, not 4. You got to trade him before the draft to get a draft pick out of him. But
you think you can trade Calvin Ridley?
I think you can. I think you can. If it doesn't work out, worst case scenario is you have Calvin Ridley, and I think Calvin Ridley is still good enough to be a pretty darn good receiver in the NFL. I think
he is too.
But
I've come around on his value for Cam Ward.
But if you can get a top 100 pick for him, which we'll see, we will see.
Would you take pick 110 for him, which is an early 4th round pick?
Yeah, I would.
I would too.
Yeah,
I would too.
As I wrote in the article, I don't think Calvin Ridley's days of being productive in the NFL are over.
Agree.
I do not think that Calvin Ridley's time, if he is with the Titans, will be unproductive. If he's around, good player, good to have.
I mean, he and Cam Ward had a great connection in camp and at the start of the season. So,
but if you can get value for him, which when he was traded in 2022, he was worth a 3rd and a 5th. I don't think you can get that for him. But if you can get a 4th, or if you can get a 3rd, try it. See, maybe it should have been shop Calvin Ridley instead of trade Calvin Ridley.
There you go.
But see what you can get for Calvin Ridley.
So he turned 31 December 20th. So he will play most of this season at 31 years old. I'm willing to bet you that there is no human being in the NFL ever in the history of the league that is at 31 years old had played 90 football games. Because obviously 2022 didn't play a single game. Only played 5 games in 2021 and only played 7 games last year. Point is he's missed time for injury and for other things, the suspension. But he is a young 31 when you talk about NFL tread on the tires. Still very explosive in and out of breaks.
Yes.
So
if we're speculating on whether there are 31-year-olds who have played fewer games, the name that comes to mind is Brigham Young. Anyone from BYU, there's a chance. Like Taysom Hill probably.
What I should have said was like that who was drafted at a normal age. Although Calvin Ridley was 24 when he debuted in the NFL. That's kind of old, actually. Now that I think about it.
Calvin Ridley was a 20-year-old college freshman, if I remember right. There were some things just with like foster care and stuff. Like there were things. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Is this true that Dayball coached Ridley in 2017?
Yeah, Dayball's 1 year at Alabama. Dayball was 1 year at Alabama. It was 2017. That was the year that Jalen Hurts was the quarterback until the last 2 quarters of the season.
Freshman of the year, I believe, right? In the SEC that year?
No. So 2016, Jalen was freshman of the year with Lane. 2017.
Oh, and Sark, right? Sark and Lane, yeah. Yeah,
2017, Dayball comes in. Jalen Hurts is their quarterback all the way up until the second half of the national championship game.
Yeah.
And
no, I got you.
Yeah, but
Stupid question here. Does Snead have any trade value at this point? The answer is no.
Theoretically, but I'm going to write my steps to fix the defense story today. You can check it out tomorrow. Snead will be a step, but I don't think you can get a whole lot for Snead.
Step number 6, beef up the running back room. And step number 7 is invest in the old and young, which I'm going to call the interior offensive line. So that is once you get through with offensive coordinator and you get through with the pass catching options for Cam Ward, which I still think could involve re-signing Chig or drafting a tight end late in the draft. There's other things there. Then you get to the run game and how it supports Cam Ward, and that is they need an extra back to carry the football, and they need to invest in some offensive line depth for sure. So that's 6 and 7.
I am a firm believer, big believer in running back by committee rather than feature back. And I think that the Shanahan branch of this McVay-Shanahan tree has also long believed that. If you look at what San Francisco did before Christian McCaffrey got there was a lot of rotation.
I was going to say, ironically, they have the guy who touched the football more than any human.
If you look at what Mike McDaniel did in Miami, it was Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and constant rotation at running back. I would hold on to Tony Pollard. I would hold on to Tajay Spears.
Okay.
And I would go get a third running back. Brian Robinson, I suggested. Something like that. Miles Sanders. Go get a more powerful number 3 back and use them all. And then, you guys asking for Iowa lineman.
Logan
Jones. I mentioned him by name in the article.
I love that guy. He's probably at 101, pick 101, which is the top of the 4th round. That is a spot where you could go get somebody who could be your center of the future. I think Jones is one of the only names that if you listen to James Foster and I do the show on Hot Read, he's one of the only names that is considered there. He actually has Carter Smith, the left tackle for Indiana, projected as a center. He's another guy that could be available at 101. And then you got the kid out of Michigan State, whose name is escaping me right now because I'm getting old. So there you go. I think absolutely there's the case. And then 8 is backup quarterback, which is not going to be, I think you need a veteran who sort of does the same things as Cam Ward to some degree. You have Tyrod Taylor on there as the list. I think you could go get any number of players that would be a quality backup quarterback. Let's trade Will Levis in this argument too.
The thing that makes Tyrod Taylor the option for me is he has played for both Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh. Yeah. That is immediate scheme fit, immediate familiarity, culture guy that's what Cam didn't have as a rookie. For Brandon Allen did not have 90 games of NFL experience or whatever Tyrod Taylor has. That would be one step further.
Donnie says Snoop Huntley. I'm like, he's too busy giving married like birds and bees advice to kids all across this country. Like when a man loves a woman.
I think Tyrod was in one of those.
I think he was
too.
Honestly, one of the best ad campaigns of 2025. Fantastic ad campaign, but that's neither here nor there. And you know what else is a great ad campaign? Sinkers Beverages on the 440 Sports Network.
Yeah. For those of you who have things about like, why didn't I trade for Will Levis or why didn't I pick a tight end or any of this? I had a word count and I wrote too many words. So those are also things I would do. But no question. These 8 steps are the first 8 steps.
I think they need to. I think I would re-sign Chig also. I think that's a. I would bring him back for sure. You can't afford to open up more needs on the offense. He also makes some things happen afterward. They finally figured out how to use him at the end of the year. I think he's a valuable player, a good personality in the locker room to have. So he's not going to cost you too much. You can still go get a blocking tight end or draft somebody. Doesn't preclude you from doing that. So I'd sign him as well. Sinkers Beverages, everybody, please. Look, it's going to be hard to drive around, so Uber Eats, make somebody else do it this weekend. Search Uber Eats, Sinkers Beverages, and have that booze delivered directly to your house. They also have non-alcoholic mocktails, THC bevies, all kinds of good stuff that you can get there that will help you maintain your dry January if you need that while you are enjoying the NFC and AFC championship games this weekend on Sunday, which the AFC one feels very weird because it's the same old Patriots. Certainly for Titans fans, I understand not rooting for them. I really wanted to see Bo Nix and the Broncos get to a Super Bowl with Sean Payton. I thought that would be really interesting. It would be even more interesting if Jared Stidham did it, but it would be, I think the NFC just, I don't know if the defense can go full Nick Foles and, the Eagles won that Super Bowl because they dominated the Patriots along the line of scrimmage. Is that what they could do? Denver conceivably could do that, but I just feel the Bo Nix injury took the air out of the balloon for me in the AFC Championship game for sure.
And I'm just bummed that I didn't get to look up whether Bo Nix, Drake May would have been the first 4-syllable first name, last name quarterback matchup in championship game history.
The fewest syllables
from
ever.
starting quarterbacks. I absolutely would have looked that up.
Well, Brett Favre and Eli Manning is what, 8 syllables, 6 syllables? Brett Favre is 2 syllables.
That's it. Depending on how you pronounce Favre, that is either 6 or 7. Yeah.
Eli, man, there's 4 there with Eli because I know they played twice in the NFC Championship game in 07 and 11. I'm trying to think of.
Here's an insane question to make Braden think about. And we'll see if he can do it.
Oh God.
Bo Nix among SEC starting quarterbacks, 5 total letters in his name, shortest since who had 6 letters in his name as a starting SEC quarterback.
Well, Mac Jones has 7.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
This is going to be a lot of dead air.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, I have like a weird, like a last name that's just no, I don't have it. Go for it.
He's an assistant coach who followed Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss to LSU.
Keep going. Just give me the name.
Joe Cox.
Oh God, Georgia quarterback. The opposite of Joe Tereshinski.
Correct.
When it comes to letters. Okay. Those are some names, man. Those are some names I haven't heard in a long time. Okay, so Sinkers Beverages, please, everybody, sign up for the in crowd as well. Go support good local business. They have an award-winning craft beer fridge, and we talked about that a little bit earlier on in the show. Have a couple beers with your friends. It's a good, smart thing to do. It is good for civilization. It's good for community. It's not good for your body, the alcohol, but the side effects of alcohol is really, really good for your body. So just want to point that out there. NFC, what do you have? So the NFC is, look, this was the best regular season football game I've seen in the NFL and that I can remember. The Thursday night game with the Rams and the Seahawks up in Seattle from a couple of weeks ago was just utterly fantastic. So do you have I don't want to see Rams Patriots again in the Super Bowl, but it feels like that would be fun to see. Also, I would get it right then since I picked the Rams to go win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. I'd feel good about that. Who do you like in the NFC?
I think I like the Seahawks right now. They're playing really well. I like what I see.
Yeah, they are.
They are playing incredibly well.
Stillman will be incorrigible if Sam Darnold is in the Super Bowl.
I can only imagine. But I don't know. I think that, what is it? 3 of our 4 options are Super Bowl rematches. We've seen we've seen Patriots Seahawks. We have seen Broncos Seahawks. We have seen Patriots Rams. I do not think we have ever seen Broncos Rams, but I could be off about that.
No. We've never seen Broncos Rams.
So it's going to be fun.
So Seattle Denver was a total bloodbath, was it not? Was that the one in New York? That was the one in New York.
That was the one that the first play of the game, the snap went over Peyton's head, and it was all downhill from there.
Total bloodbath. And then the Malcolm Butler one was, of course, right.
Yes. That was Patriots Seahawks, but also Patriots Seahawks was that. No, it was Seahawks played the Steelers when Matt Hasselbeck went, so we've only seen it once.
Yep, and then of course, obviously,
Patriots Rams we've seen twice. Yeah,
we've seen the original coming out party of Tom Brady, of course.
Yeah.
Was the Patriots Rams. So
I am not somebody who's bothered by seeing repeat matchups. I think it's good when sports have villains, and the Patriots were a really good villain for a long time.
It's so weird. I am totally adverse to the Patriot logo and brand in a Super Bowl, but I really like Vrabel and Drake May individually. But I do think, like, again, if Bo Nix was healthy, I'd say I'd want to see this Broncos team in the Super Bowl. Just because, again, that was also a team I was like, I think the Broncos are going to, in the beginning of the year, I was very high on Denver. So it'd just be nice to see Bo Nix. And then, like the Darnold Bo Nix of it all would have been fantastic to watch because everyone's like, do we have good quarterbacks? We're not sure.
Yeah, there was a world where we could have had a Bo Nix versus Brock Purdy Super Bowl, and that would have achieved take singularity.
Uniform helmet matchup, Rams Broncos.
Okay.
Rams Broncos, in my opinion.
As you can tell by my general appearance and aesthetic behind me, I don't have a good eye for that sort of stuff.
I think that you need a little bit of color variation for a good helmet matchup. Patriots it's just going to be blue. It's going to be some sort of red and blue with the Patriots. The Seahawks and Patriots uniforms just don't line up well. Rams Patriots is okay, a little bit better. Seahawks Broncos is a solid matchup, but the best matchup from a helmet game standpoint is the Orange Crush versus the honestly, one of my favorite uniforms in the NFL, which is the new Rams uniforms. Once they kind of added the cream to them and kind of gave them that like modern vibe and look, I like the Rams unis a lot. So we'll see. All right. Player movement. Do you want to mention real fast? Do you think it's good for college sports that former professional athletes can go play in college sports?
So I'll level with you. When you texted me this, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have watched 0.0 seconds of college basketball since I moved to Nashville. I don't watch the NCAA tournament. I do not pay attention.
That's terrible.
It is the one thing I cut out of my life when I stopped covering college sports is I don't watch college basketball anymore. I don't. It's. I had an editor one time, and this is a story that will make me sound exactly like you expect. I had an editor one time who pulled me aside and said, "Hey, man, when you write about football, you write like you're the smartest guy in the room, and when you write about baseball, you write like you're the smartest guy in the room, and when you write about basketball, you kind of sound like some punk kid from the suburbs." I've always had a complicated
it's
relationship.
more.
It's never been my sport. I enjoy watching it.
No.
But
So
I don't understand it nearly as much.
So this guy played in the G League for 3 years. He's a center, and he was granted an injunction by the courts to play for Alabama immediately, like this Saturday against the Vols. And it happens to be against Tennessee, Alabama-Tennessee, big rivalry game. But what the issue is more, and like Joe Rexroad is like incredulous about this. Like college basketball is being destroyed. You know how he loves college basketball. The issue is that it sets all these precedents for even college football movement. Like if you still have eligibility and you're not playing in the NFL, like can you go back to college? Like what are we doing? And I know I'm fine with my team doing it also. Like that's the other thing. Everyone in sports is like, this is a terrible thing that happens. Oh, we're doing it? Okay, let's try it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how college football works, college basketball. It's just this insane thing to see and think about. So I don't know if Nate Oates is going to actually play him. Because again, it's just an injunction. It's not officially eligible, right? Like you could risk some things there, have the win or the loss removed from your resume. Like, I don't know. I just think it's worth not acknowledging that we have gone through the looking glass on player movement. I'm all for player movement, but having someone who has played professional basketball for 3 years come back to college is an insane thing to talk about, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about this.
Yeah, it's insane. It's strange, but we have to start thinking of college sports as professional sports that represent colleges and not as amateur sports, because that's what it is. It's professional sports representing colleges. I have absolutely no connection, like sentimental connection, to the concept of amateurism. I do not care.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't either.
Amateurism doesn't matter to me. And so if we drop the pretense that these are amateur sports and just call them what they are, professional sports leagues that represent universities. Yeah. Just put an age cap. Just say
that's what I'm saying. There has to be something.
You can play college sports until you're 25 years old.
There has to be something.
Just put an age cap instead of an eligibility cap.
Right. You can't have Kevin Durant retire from the NBA and come back because he played 1 year of college basketball.
No. Just
like we can't have that. There has to be something.
Whether
and I'm not even saying it makes sense or there's a logical way for me to explain it.
Yeah.
But 25. Yeah.
If you play in the NBA and you flame out and you're 23 and you want to go make money playing 1 year of college basketball, I don't care.
Oh, I'm all for like go into the NFL draft, and if you don't get drafted, you can choose to be a UDFA or go back to college.
Yeah.
If you still have eligibility. Like I'm not for like hurting the players' lives on this. But like LeBron, 0 years of he's got all of his eligibility left. You want LeBron to come play in college basketball? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, not to spew like 70-year-old social science and stuff, but like if we're going with McLuhan's idea, if we're saying the medium is the message, the medium of college sports infers that this is amateur. The medium of college sports infers that it is a stepping stone. The medium of college sports infers that it is the step before you get to professional sports. And as long as we conceptualize college sports that way, we're always going to be like, what the hell is going on? Because it's always going to not make sense. But as soon as we start calling college sports what they are, which are for-pay organizations, professional organizations that employ athletes and employ coaches and pay people for the work they're doing.
I totally agree.
It is just a lower level of professional sports.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And
I agree.
So stop caring about eligibility and start caring about, just set a rule of how old you can be.
It's AAA baseball.
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's AAA baseball, where most people aren't going to play professionally and make a lot of money and be famous, but hey, people like watching it. It's fun, and it's in this case, it's worth a lot of money relative to AAA baseball. But I don't have a problem with them making money. I don't have a problem with people, but there does have to be some form of like, well, no, you're out there in the world being a professional athlete. You've graduated from this sport or this layer or something. So
I'm also fine with people going back down a rung if they fail, if they play in the NFL and fail and go back down to college football. You just have to be enrolled in classes and pursuing college education.
That's
like
now who's living in a mythical universe?
Yeah. like if we actually make the rule of you can play college sports if you are pursuing a degree in college, which I know that sounds like really, really
I hear you.
simplistic, but yeah, if you can prove that you want to be an architect or you want to be an IT engineer or something like that, and you're taking those classes and you have the honor roll credits to prove it, you're a college athlete. Go play.
All right, Mr. Laissez-faire. All right, Tennessean.com for the defensive steps to fix the defense, which we did not touch on at all in this show. We just focused on offense. Next time, put out both stories before Thursday, if you could, Nick. And so enjoy that. Tennessean.com, pay for good journalism. Sinkers Beverages, please go support good local businesses. It is we've got to focus on local businesses in Nashville, in Middle Tennessee in 2026. We just got to do it. If there's a local business that you appreciate, that you like, and you want to keep them going, please go support them. Spend a few bucks at a place like that. Sinkers is one of them. 440 Media is one of them. Gannett is not, but still go support good local business. Go buy a subscription and pay for good local journalism. Follow Nick across the thing. For more on the college football thing, SEC Football Live coming up today at 1 o'clock Central Time. Myself and Trey Wallace, we're going to get into this even more. As far as player eligibility, we're going to look at the portal, some of the winners and losers. What did we learn from the college football playoff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of good stuff on SEC Football Live coming up today. And, of course, all the other great shows covering the Preds, Nashville SC, Nashville Sports Media and Business, Beer, apparently, at Mashville is a great new show that I've put together. Appreciate some of you guys listening. Documentary about the city, and that just about does it. Stay warm. Stay smart this weekend. Easy on the gas, easy on the brake. Don't drive if you don't have to. And please subscribe and support Nashville Severe Weather. I know those guys personally. They are great. They are going to take care of all of us this weekend, so make sure you go support them. For Nick, I am Braden. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend. Senior Bowl next week. Enjoy football. We'll talk to you next time.